سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Oh, that photocopy original. Inshallah, next week do it. Screenshot lagana ke So we'll be discussing today about Sajdah Tilawah. So Sajdah Tilawah is something important, especially in Hanafi madhab, that these Sajdas, ayats are, whenever you recite one of these ayah or whenever you listen to someone reciting one of these ayah, it is wajib upon us to give a sajdah. And these ayats are called, ayat sajdah or sajdah of tilawah. That whenever you recite one of these ayah or whenever you listen someone reciting one of these ayah, it is wajib upon us to give a sajdah. In other madhab, they say it's not wajib, but it's sunnah. You should give it, still recommended, but it's not wajib. In our madhab, they are wajib, and if you don't give it, or whenever you decide or whenever you listen to, you will be sinful because of missing a wajib action. So according to the Hanafi madhab, it is wajib to perform a sajdah upon reciting or listening to the following 14 verses of sajdah. These are the 14 surahs, and the ayat number are there as well. So Surah A'raf, Surah Al-Ra'd, Surah Al-Nahl, Surah Bani Israel, Surah Maryam, Surah Hajj, Surah Al-Furqan, Surah Al-Namal, Surah Al-Sajdah, Surah Sa'd, Surah Sad, Surah Hamim Al-Sajdah, Surah Al-Najm, Surah Al-Inshiqaq, and Surah Al-Alaq. These are the 14 surahs, and the ayats number are also there. So if anybody would like to find out the ayats from the Quran, you can find it. So why do we give sajdah in this specific places? Because in these places Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about sajdah, about prostrating in front of Him. So sometimes Allah praises people who give sajdah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as a believer, we say, oh Allah, we want to be among those people who give sajdah, so we fall down into sajdah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or in some of the ayats, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention about, like do sajdah for the sake of Allah, and we want to, follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately, and we fall into sajdas. So these are the 14 verses. According to Shafi madhab, there are other 14 verses. One of the verse in Surah Hajj, they mentioned the last ayat of Surah Hajj and the last few ayats of Surah Hajj. In Hanbali mazhab, they have got 15 ayats of sajdah. So in our madhab, these are the 14 ayats. So if you also in the Quran, you will see it is written on the side sajdah. They will be marking a line, especially in our Indian subcontinent Qurans. So we need to know these ayats. It's better to memorize the surah. So we know the 14 surahs: Al-A'raf, Al-Ra'd, Al-Nahl, Bani Israel, Maryam, Hajj, Furqan. If you memorize these 14, so whenever you listen to someone, you know that you are listening one of these 14 surahs. Or whenever you're reading the Quran, when you see this surah name, you get prepared that I have to give one sajdah. Now some of the rules regarding sajdah. There's a hadith in Sahih Muslim and Ibn Majah that the Prophet ﷺ said, once a person prostrates himself after reading a verse requiring the performance of sajdah, the shaitan starts crying and wailing in a corner, saying, alas, the children of Adam were enjoined to perform sajdah, and they carried it out and become entitled to enter paradise, but I refused to do so and was condemned to hell. So we know the story of Shaitan, how Shaitan came. He was the Muallimul Malaika. He was the teacher of the angels in the heavens, and he was the teacher of all the angels. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered all the angels to bow down in front of Adam alayhi salam to do sajdah for the sake of Adam alayhi salam, all the angels, they prostrated themselves in front of Adam alayhi salam. However, Shaitan refused to do sajdah. He became arrogant, ignorant. He became arrogant and said, I am better than him. Why should I do sajdah to him? And this is why he became cursed, the rajim and mala'un. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him threw him down from the heaven, and he will be cursed until the day of Qiyamah, and he will be punished forever in the hellfire. Now, just missing a sajda, Allah ordered to do sajda, he refused to do so, and he became cursed. And while Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to do sajda, whenever we recite on this ayah, Allah said, "Wasjudu lillah," do sajda for the sake of Allah. We do not argue, or we do not condemn, or do not refuse to do. We say sami'na wa ata'na ghufranaka rabbana wa ilayka al-masir. We have heard and we have obeyed, Ya Allah, and we do sajda for the sake of Allah. So something, a beautiful connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by performing this sajdas in this ayat. It is obligatory, meaning wajib, for those persons only who have to perform and observe the prayers, meaning the people upon whom salah is obligatory, like for example, it is not wajib upon a child until they reach the puberty, or if a person is insane, it is not wajib upon them. If a person is sleeping and someone is reciting Quran next to them, they will not be it will not be wajib upon them to wake up and do the sajda, so things like this. If a verse requiring a sajda has been recited inside the prayer, the sajda has to be performed immediately. But if the verse is recited outside the prayer, it is preferable to perform sajda soon afterwards, but one may perform it later as well. So if you are reciting salah, you are performing salah, and within the salah, if you recite on this verse of the sajda, whenever you complete reciting the verse, you say Allahu Akbar, straight go to sajda. Recite Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. Then you say Allahu Akbar, stand up and carry out rest of your prayer. This is how we do. Usually we see in Tarawih Salah, in Tarawih Salahs. So we do this like this. So if you recite this ayat in the salah, you cannot give sajda after salah. It has to be done within the salah. Now, if you recite outside the salah, now you are reading the Quran, you recited one of the verse of sajda, it is better to give it immediately, because you may forget later, and also because as you mentioned, spiritual connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is better to give it immediately. You recited it and you fall into sajda, Allah loves that. However, it is also allowed to delay it, but you should not delay as much that you forget later, or you do not perform at all, because you will be sinful if you do that. If a verse requiring the performance of sajda has been recited in a particular prayer, it is obligatory to perform the sajda in the same prayer, neither outside it nor in another prayer. If a sajda is omitted in forgetfulness, one should ask Allah for forgiveness. So you are in performing salah and you decided on the verse of sajda, you should give it sajda within this salah. Now you completed the salah, you cannot do sajda for this ayat, or you cannot start another salah and just give sajda for the sake of that ayat. You cannot do that. If you missed giving sajda out of forgetfulness, then you just ask Allah for forgiveness. That's it. If a person hears a verse requiring a sajda being recited by the imam, but joins the congregation when the imam has already performed it, he will perform the sajda after completing his prayer. There will be no need for performing the sajda later if the follower has joined the congregation in the rak'ah in which the sajda is performed by the imam. So you join the imam in prayer. You have the prayer when the imam recites the ayat of the sajda, imam goes to sajda. You follow the imam, isn't it? Now you join the imam after the imam recited the verse of the sajda, and the imam is giving sajda. You also give sajda, although you did not listen to the ayat of the sajda. So you just follow the imam. If a person recites a verse requiring a sajda in the mind, but does not utter it aloud or only writes it, he will not be required to perform the sajda. So meaning you do not utter it with your lips, with your tongue, then it will not be obligatory to do sajda. So you just read in your head, okay, sajda will not be obligatory. Similarly, if someone writes it down, ayat of the sajdah, just writes it down without reading, then sajdah will not be obligatory. So this gives another important ruling for us, that some of us, when we stand in prayer, we don't move our lips and tongue. I notice some people, they do not move their lips or tongue at all. So what they are doing, they are reading in their head. Will salah be accepted? No. For the condition of salah to be accepted is qira'ah. Qira'ah is reading. So you need to utter with your tongue, with your lips, using all the makharij, launch makhraj of the letters. So you need to use makhraj when you are reading the Quran, reading the verse. So if you read everything in the head, your salah will not be valid. So the scholars mention how loud you should recite, that you should recite as loud as you can hear yourself. So one we call whispering, isn't it? That way you're whispering that you can hear your verse yourself. So this is the uttering. It should be uttered. So if anyone does not utter the ayat of the sajdah, they do not have to give a sajdah. If they just read in their head, they don't have to give sajdah. If the verse requiring a sajdah is recited over and over again in the same sitting, only one sajdah will have to be performed. But if more than one verse requiring sajdah are recited, the number of sajdah to be performed will be the same as the number of the verses recited. Similarly, if the verse requiring a sajdah is repeated in different sittings, the number of sajdah to be performed will be according to the number of sitting. Now we are 15, 20 people here. Okay. Now we recite. The teacher is reciting one ayat of sajdah. We all repeat it back to him, isn't it? So teacher recited once, we all listen to it. Then we recite it again. If there are 20 people recite and we listen to them, how many sajdah we have to give? Only one sajdah. So if one ayat is recited and listen in the same sitting, only one sajdah is enough. So you are sitting here and for example you are memorizing a surah and you are repeating this surah, this ayat again and again, 100 times, 200 times, you have to give only one sajdah is enough. However, if you change the sitting, so what does sitting changing mean? It doesn't mean that you just stand up and sit down again, you have to change the sitting. No. For example, you are reading here and you've been, after a while, you need to go to toilet or you need to go for wudu or you need to go for prayer somewhere else, that will be regarded as you have changed the sitting. Otherwise, you are memorizing the Quran, you are walking and you're reciting one ayat again over and over again, you have to give only one sajdah. One sajdah is enough. Another important thing, that some ignorant people prostrate themselves on the Quran itself when they have recited a verse requiring a sajdah. This is not valid, should not be done. Some people put the Quran on the floor and put their head on top of it. We should not do that. It's not adab for the Quran. Or some people the hold the Quran, and also it should not be done like this. You should put the Quran nicely with adab on top of something, and then you give sajdah for your sajdah. This sajdah is not wajib for women when they are in a state of hayd or nifas. So what does it mean? In the hayd and nifas, they will not be reciting the Quran at all anyway. They will not be reciting the Quran at all anyway. However, if they listen to reciting the Quran, is it allowed to listen to the Quran? Yes, of course it is allowed. The women, it is allowed for them to listen to the recitation of the Quran. Also, it is allowed for the woman, as we mentioned before as well, I just repeat again, that when mentioning hayd and nifas, people think that this is a time for a break. However, we don't have any break from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to maintain this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Doesn't matter whatever situation, wherever we are. So for women in that state, what they should do, they should maintain that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, they will not be performing salah, they will not be reciting the Quran, they will not be entering the masjid. Other than that, they can do everything. They will not be doing tawaf. Tawaf is not allowed as well. And other than that, everything is allowed. So they can make dua, they can recite takbir, they can recite tasbih, they can recite tahleel, la ilaha illallah, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah. They can recite all the ayats of the Quran that contains dua. Like رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ. These are the ayats from the Quran, but you can recite it as as a dua. Also, you can recite the ayats for protection, not as a intention of as the intention for reward, but intention for the protection. For example, ayatul kursi. You are going out and you're scared. You may feel that something can harm you. Out of protection, on the intention of protection, you can recite ayatul kursi. You can recite mu'awwadhatayn, qul a'udhu rabbil falaq, qul a'udhu rabbin nas. Only need to remember that you cannot recite any part of the Quran, out of intention for the sawab, intention for the reward. So we mentioned, as for dua, you can recite it, and as for protection, you can recite, but you cannot touch the Quran, you cannot hold the Quran from your memory. So one question was asked that why the women are not allowed to recite the Quran or to touch the Quran while they can do ghusl while in the period or nifas or haid. Why can't they just take the Quran, touch the Quran, because bodily they are pure, isn't it? So in everything in Islam doesn't go with what do you call logic. Sometimes you will not find it. For example, when you pass wind, your wudu breaks, doesn't it? So when your wudu breaks, logically, the way wudu breaks, you need to clean that part of the body, isn't it? So your wudu breaks through your back passage because the wind goes out, but you don't wash that part. What do you do when you pass wind? You just go wash your hands and face and arms. You are pure now again. So everything does not go with the logic of so this is called Islam. Islam means submission in the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, Allah said we don't have to know why Allah declared that, why Allah mentioned that. Our duty is to say amanna wa sallamna. We have believed in and we have submitted in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So although it doesn't make sense that we are not impure, our clothes are not impure, our body is not impure, our hands are not impure, why can't we touch the Quran or read the Quran? It is the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it prohibited us. We do not do that. That's it. This is the reason.
Just ask a quick question.
Yes.
So when you're not allowed to touch the Quran when
Yes.
you're not in pure state,
Yes.
but you can read dua. So if the dua isn't in your memory,
Yes.
and you want to read it from your phone, from a Quran on the phone,
Yes.
can you then do that?
So now again another mas'ala which is new mas'ala, isn't it? You have got a mobile phone, and the mobile phone you've got the Quran app. Okay. Now, can you touch the Quran app while you are in menstruation or when you don't have wudu? So again, it is mentioned that if the Quranic verse is written on the wall, this is how they're bringing the ruling from that to the mobile phone. So if a Quranic verse written on the wall, we are not allowed to touch the verse. We can touch the wall other side, but you are not allowed to touch the wall where the Quran is written, the letters are written. So when we don't have wudu, we are not allowed to touch it. We are not allowed to touch the wall where the Quran is written. Similarly, if you have got mobile app, if you you are not allowed to touch the screen where the Quran is written if you don't have wudu. And because when ghusl is formed because of janaba or because of menstruation, it will not be allowed to touch the Quran like this. So what you can do, for example, if the verse of the dua is written on a paper or on a wall, and you don't have to touch it, you can just read it as a dua. So you are not allowed to touch it, the Quranic verses or the letters, but you can read it from your memory or you can read it from far. Only for du'as. Remember that. Only for du'as and the protection ones we mentioned. It is desirable to read the ayat of Sajdah inaudibly to avoid making the Sajdah wajib on others who are within hearing distance. So, you are reciting the Quran and, you are reading, for example, you are reading on microphone or mic, just reciting the Quran. Now, we don't know, many people are listening to your recitation. If it is loudspeaker, you can imagine in Islamic countries where we use loudspeakers. So you are reading the Quran beautifully. Now if you start reciting an ayat of the Sajdah, many people, maybe they are working in the farm, they are working in the shop, they are working in the market, and they are listening to the lesson of the Quran. Maybe they wouldn't know that ayat of Sajdah is there, and it is becoming wajib upon them. So, this is why it is desirable, it is better to recite this particular verse, inaudibly, meaning not loudly. So this is what we do, that if there are other people in front of us, we recite the Quran loudly. When you come to this verse, we recite it softly, except for reason when we recite it loudly, for everyone can hear, for any other reason. Other than that, we recite it inaudibly, so that other people do not hear it.
Can I just ask another question?
Yes, yes.
So somebody distinguished here that if a person is reciting for the purpose of learning,
Yes.
that even if they're impure, they can still recite from the Quran without touching it.
When they are pure.
No, when
No.
they're not.
So you mean in the purpose of learning?
Yes.
Yes. In the purpose of learning also, however, it has been mentioned that you read it without touching, and also you read it without making sentence, without reading the whole sentence in one go. So the sisters who has got that excuse, what they can do, they read one word, because the purpose of their reading is to learn, isn't it? And so you read it, break down the sentences, and you do not read the sentence in one go. This is what we have been said. Also, for example, some women, they will be in the exam when in the situation. So when they write it down, they do not read it while writing down the Quranic verse, and they break it down. So they don't read the whole word, the whole sentence together. Okay.
Can
Yes.
they read with the gloves for the exam?
It's better not to touch even with the gloves. Even with the gloves. Yes, when you take exams for students, for like the Al-Qiraat, so what we do, we make it a rule for the teachers that the teacher will open the Quranic pages. The students don't have to touch it. So they'll just sit down behind the Quran. The teachers will open the pages so that they don't have to touch it.
So in any mazhab is forbidden, right?
I'm not sure about other madhab. I'm telling about the Hanafi madhab.
Shafi'i, so they said they can read with the gloves.
Okay. Yes.
What you said before, when you're working, if you listen,
Yes.
we need to do after work or
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. When you listen, if you can, immediately that's better. If you can't, you can do it later.
if you're driving.
Yeah, driving or yes, it's fine.
And
We'll
the point is,
mention, yes,
we have to know what's the Sajdah surah, Sajdah line is.
yes, yes.
So otherwise, what will happen? So we,
This is why it is also wajib upon us to know these ayats and surahs, so we do not miss the sajdah. Okay, so it is makruh to recite the Quran and deliberately omit reading the ayat of sajdah to avoid performing the sajdah. So you are reciting the Quran, you just see the ayat of sajdah, so just skip this ayah and read the next ayah so that you don't have to do sajdah. It is makruh, you should not do that, and especially when you do khatam, your khatam will not be complete if you do not recite this ayah. Then subhanAllah, why would you have that intention that you don't want to give sajdah?
Can I ask another question?
Yes, sure.
So we're not if you complete the Quran
Yes,
and you haven't read any of them,
yes.
do you just read one or do you read 14?
Okay, so a good question. So yeah, you have to give 14. So because there are 14 sajdas in the Quran, so you give 14. Even if you do it in one sitting, you have to do 14 sajdas. So like salah. So if anyone missed some salahs in their early age, now they forgot how many salahs they missed, they need to think how many could be, and they give some extra, pray some extra. That's it. So similarly for sajdas, find out as many as best as you can, and do it. This
Because it's wajib and not first, can you just ask for forgiveness for ones that you've not done in your lifetime?
the sajdas.
Yes.
If you remember that you haven't done it, and it's better to do them because you've still got chance. Yeah, so because one example, so you did khatam of the Quran 15 times in your life, okay? So you know that you have to give sajda. So 15 times 14. You know how many sajdas need to give. Just give this amount of sajda and you'll be forgiven. Inshallah, you'll be accepted. Because for sajdas, only if you miss in salah, then there is no qada, isn't it? If you do in salah, there's no qada. However, if you decide in other than salah, you can do it until you die. So you still have got the chance. Yeah, we can do it. Okay, so another question arises then. Do you have to stand up for each sajda? So usually when you do a sajda, you start from standing. You stand up, say Allahu Akbar, go to sajda, recite Subhana Rabbiyal A'la 3 times, and you Allahu Akbar, stand up. That's it. However, if you're doing more sajdas, you don't need to stand up for each time. What you can do, you can say Allahu Akbar, sit down, and then again Allahu Akbar, go back to sajda again. Second sajda will be counting like this. You can do many, as many.
एक उसमें जब एक तरफ नीचे जाएगा जैसे नमाज में तो 2 सजदे हैं ना,
जी,
तो इसका एक सजदा होगा या 2 सजदे होगा?
एक सजदा होगा. जी. So one question came that do you have to do 2 sajdas like salah, or do you have to give only 1 sajda? No, it's only 1 sajda. For sajda tilawah, only 1 sajda. Now, very good question. Listening to sajda ayat on radio or TV. So you are listening to the surah, one of the surah Al-A'raf or Ra'ad or Nahl or Bani Israel, one of these surah that contains sajda ayat, beautiful recited on the radio or on YouTube or on TV. Do you have to give sajda? Now it has 2 circumstances. One is if it is recorded. If it is recorded, you don't have to give sajda. What's the ruling came from? The ruling came from the parrot birds. They can utter words in it. So if a parrot recite an ayat of sajda, you don't have to give sajda. Okay? Now, if a parrot is trained to recite an ayat of the sajda, you don't have to give sajda. They bring the same ruling for a tape recorder or YouTube recorder or whatever it is. Now, if it is recorded, you don't have to give sajda. However, if it is live, so we are talking now on the mic, people are hearing from houses, it is live, isn't it? So if you recite any verse of the Quran of sajda on the mic, whoever listening to us right now, it will be wajib upon them to recite, to do the sajda. If brother is recording the talk here and then they put it on YouTube, people listen it later, the ayat of sajda, they don't have to give sajda because that was recorded. Is it clear?
Yep.
Okay. So sometimes we listen to the salah live stream from Makkah or Medina, and if you know that they're reciting one of the ayat of sajda, you need to give sajda. Listening to sajda ayat while in salah. So you are performing salah. A person is reciting Quran next to you, and he is reciting one of the ayat of sajda. Do you have to give sajda? No, you don't have to. Because you are doing your salah, no, you are not allowed to listen, or you are not allowed to be instructed by someone outside to do anything. So you are in salah, someone not in salah reciting the Quran, and they recited ayat of sajda, you don't have to give sajda. Okay? You are in salah, someone else is also in salah, but not the same salah. They are doing their salah, you are doing your salah. Okay? They are reciting the Quran loudly, and in that recitation they are reciting sajda ayat loudly. You don't have to give sajda because they are different salah. Now you are sitting down, you are not in salah. Someone is reciting the Quran in their salah. For Imam is reciting the Quran in their salah, and they are reciting on the verse from sajda ayat. Do you have to do sajda? Yes. Is it clear? So you are not in salah, you are just sitting down. Someone is leading namaz, leading salah, and in that recitation they are reciting one of the ayat of the one of the ayat of sajda. You listen to this, you have to do a sajda. Okay. MashaAllah. So this is the important lesson for today. This is wajib upon us whenever we recite one of the verse of sajda, or whenever we listen to the recitation of one of these verse of sajda, it will be wajib upon us to do one sajdah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know the reward of it, that when we do a sajdah, shaitan cries and wails, that I was unfortunate, I didn't do sajdah. Human being, they are doing sajdah and they're getting reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So may Allah accept it, inshallah.